Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oakville Festival of Film and Arts podcast, the Off-Screen Podcast. My name is Ian Tyson. I had the good fortune of being the gala host at this year's Oakville Film Festival, as well as the awards show. And my big treat and thrill was the fact that on our opening night, I got to host the opening night gala with just an absolute delight of a film, The Phantom of the Open. And it's my true privilege to welcome to the podcast director of said film, Mr. Craig Roberts. Craig, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and you're joining us. You're in the UK right now, correct?
I'm in the UK. I'm in London, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So it's evening for you, so I won't say good afternoon. I'll say good evening.
Yeah.
Craig, I can't even tell you. I was mentioning just before we started to record that I watched the film before the festival, just before, to kind of prime myself, and then watched it on the opening night. I absolutely love this film. It's such a delight, and I wanted to, in lieu of me just reading off of IMDb straight from the horse's mouth, as it were, why don't you tell people who maybe haven't seen the film but should a little description of what The Phantom of the Open is all about?
Sure. Yes. And thank you for your kind words. It's a comedy drama, family drama about a guy called Maurice Flitcroft, based on a true story, who was a crane operator in Barrow in the 70s, and he gave that up and one day decided to become a golfer. So entered the British Open, and they didn't check his application form, and he got in and recorded the worst ever record of a 1-2-1. And he was banned from playing golf, but wouldn't take no for an answer, and got back in several times after that.
I love it. It was, well, first of all, I took some very personal offense to the fact that a 121 was the worst recorded professional round ever, because I'm pretty sure I've hit a 121 more than a few times in my life.
Well,
So,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, Morris wasn't that bad. He's not
no,
like the worst golfer in the world, which the tabloids named him. He wasn't really that bad considering he'd never played golf before. I mean, that's okay. That's an okay score.
yeah, that's
Just really, yeah,
totally okay. If I'm playing bogey golf or even double bogey golf, I'm happy. Like,
yeah,
that's a
me
good
too.
day.
Me too. Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So he got a bad rep for that, but he's certainly not the worst golfer in the world for sure.
Oh, absolutely not. So I guess my question for you, because you're a considerably younger man than myself and way younger than Morris. How did you come upon this story? I was alive when it happened, but actually had no knowledge of this whatsoever. And I love to follow golf, but I
Right.
was not familiar at all with the story. How did you come upon the story of Morris?
I wasn't familiar with it either, and I didn't know about Morris or his story, and I just got sent the script, really, that was written by Simon Farnaby, by one of the producers, Nicola Martin, and I loved it. I loved it so much. After it, I was like, "Is this really a true story?" And started to Google it and look through YouTube and seeing clips of him, and yeah, I was just knocked over by just the, I suppose, the courage to do, to do something. And he's a beautiful dreamer, but at the same time a doer, and that's a really hard thing. So I really wanted to do the movie, so I had to pitch for it and interview for it, and yeah, I did that.
What was that process like in pitching and interviewing for you two as a younger filmmaker, also an actor, but as a younger filmmaker to direct this? What was that process like?
It was, I think, well, it went okay because I got the job, but it was, I suppose it was the first project that I was going to direct that I hadn't written myself. So I was, slightly worried that I would not do a great job for Simon because his script was so good. So it was really just about me, figuring out first and foremost whether I was the right person to tell the story. And when I realized that maybe I was, then it was, how I see it and what my vision for it was. And that's when I started putting like references together and, how I saw the picture, essentially.
What was it about? I mean, you mentioned obviously he's just such a positive person and a big dreamer. What was it about Morris's story that then put that fire in you to want to chase this project?
I think there's many reasons really. What was appealing to me was the idea that when you tell a true story about somebody, most of the time people know that story. So you're living up to certain expectations where people really didn't know Morris's story. So that felt refreshing. I think what also felt
Sure.
refreshing is the fact that with an underdog story, it's normally the person wins at the end of it. And he does win, but in a different way, really. He succeeds because he's doing what he really wants to do. And I think that's what really attracted me to the project and to Morris, really.
Absolutely. And I love the descriptor, circling back to what it does actually say in IMDb for a second, calling him an unrelenting optimist. And as someone who makes his living as a professional motivational speaker, I love that phrase, that unrelenting optimist. I call myself a silver lining prospector in my work. So
Love
but
that.
I
Love that.
absolutely love that an unrelenting optimist. And it is such a truly inspiring story because, as you just said, an underdog, spoiler alert, who doesn't win, but it was so beautiful. So you came to this story now, the casting, this cast you were able to put together with Mark Rylance and Sally Hawkins and Rhys Ifans. What was that process like, or did you have people in mind going in?
The process of getting the job was so quick that I didn't have anybody in mind immediately. And then we all sat down, me, Simon, and the two producers, Nicola Martin and Tom Miller, and we went through what was right and what was wrong, and who was right and who was wrong. Sorry, and what we were all, we kind of all agreed that the script was very funny, and we didn't want to play to the comedy too much because we knew it would be funny anyway, and that he was funny. So that we wanted to ground it so that the drama later in the movie would really connect. So we wanted a really serious actor, really a character actor, and Mark Rylance is the best. So we were like, let's aim for him. Unfortunately for us, like when he signed onto the project, he released like a press release or a press statement, and he said that he'd never been offered a comedy before. So I think the timing of it all was very fortunate for us. And then Sally Hawkins, I've worked with Sally before, and I work with her on everything I can. She's the best. She's the master of her craft. And Rhys is Welsh, and I've always wanted to work with Rhys. I love his movies, and I just love him as a person. So yeah, it was a lot of begging, please come and play. And fortunately, they all did.
And well, in play they did, it looked like just so much fun, the actual group. I mean, what was it like shooting the actual golf shots, like all of that stuff?
That was, I mean, hopefully it comes across fun. It was tough because somebody stood in the middle of middle of a field hitting a ball can get very boring very quickly. Hence why some people don't like golf. So it was just about, I don't know, capturing the spirit of Morris and trying to put that into the iconography of the piece, and making it connect and making it feel kinetic in the way that he was. So that was the biggest challenge really with filming the golf. It was very fun watching Mark play Morris and hitting the ball, but it was mainly about just keeping it moving so that we felt so that it was entertaining.
Did Mark have to learn to play, or was he already a golfer?
So he wasn't a golfer, but when he did stop, when we did a few lessons, me and him went to a golf club. He was actually too good. I felt like he was like, yeah, he when he first hit the ball, I was like, oh, you look like you've played before. So which is helpful actually, because to play somebody bad, there needs to be a certain level of skill to do that. To hit the ball bad every shot, you need to have some level of skill, and he did, which was good.
Well, and really even that swing, because it's a very uncharacteristic swing to say
Yes.
the least, and to be able to dial that down. And so yeah, clearly there was some athleticism there, which I will say, and it's no shade on Sir Mark Rylance. I'm a big fan of his work. I was surprised seeing him in a golf shirt. I was like, geez, he's Mark's a little swole over there. Like he's got some pipes on him.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he does actually. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. He does.
But he's
I
always
think
just, he's always played older. He's always got a jacket on or something and kind of seems small. And I know that's probably part of the process or the characters that he's playing. But just when he gets out there, I was like, wow, he's in great shape. Look at that guy.
Well, I think that was part of his I suppose training for playing Morris. Really, he knew that Morris was very lean and very in shape, and he wanted to I suppose carry that through. And his posture, like he carries himself like this throughout the movie. His shoulders are very high, and
Yes.
there's almost a pride in the way he carries himself. And yeah, he's in shape for sure.
Yeah, it was great. And Sally, Sally's portrayal of his wife, just I felt, and I don't know if I'm making a leap here. You can tell me, obviously, as the filmmaker, she really felt like the heart of this thing.
Yes, I think yes. What you're absolutely right. I think she's the glue, really. She
Yes.
holds it all together. and it was really important to have that, and to have that character, and to really to portray it in the right way. There's so many, throughout history, so many successful men that are successful because of their wives and because of what they do and how they keep the family together. Um, and Jean is certainly that. She just, as much as Morris believed in himself, I think she believed in him a little bit more.
That was
And
exactly the thought going through my head. He never stopped believing in himself, but she never stopped believing in him. It was lovely. And just her portrayal of this quiet strength, I think, which I think that's something Sally Hawkins does incredibly well.
yes, oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I could keep the camera rolling on Sally all day. I shoot on film, so unfortunately I can't. But I would if I could.
Absolutely. Now, I just creatively in
Yeah.
the aspect where we're talking about sort of the shots that are inside Morris's mind for the visions, the things he's seeing when he's imagining wanting to do the open, or when he's up on top of the crane towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
Am I wrong that there was some Van Gogh Starry Night in there that was being sort of woven together, and where did that come from?
I'd love to take all the credit for it, but that's Simon and that's Morris.
Oh,
Morris was a painter, and he liked to, paint portraits of people and his wife, and it was in the style of that. So
okay.
Simon took that and put that into the script, and in its DNA, and his dreams, that came through. So yeah, again, it was just really about, had such wonderful material to work with. It was just about executing it in the right way, really.
Oh, well, it came across beautifully. It was lovely.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it's funny because you mentioned that, like, that's something about him being a painter, not something you got into in any depth in the film, because obviously you've got to keep things tight and you've got to
Yeah.
serve the narrative and all of that. And just even given from in the closing credits, some of the things about talking about other things that Morris did, knowing his story, is there other stories that you have heard, or hijinks and what have you, that happened that you maybe wished you could have put in the film or seen, like other things that he tried? And
Yes, there was a version of the script. He was a high diver. He was like a clown diver, essentially. That, yeah, like a comedy act. He did many things, and actually, there was a version of the script where he did all of that at the beginning. And some of the painting stuff we actually shot, um, or at least the result of his paintings. But we had to cut it out because my first cut of the movie was like Magnolia. It was so long. And I thought it was good, but obviously, the narrative needs to work, and it needs to flow. So unfortunately, we had to take some of that stuff out. But you can make 3 or 4 movies about Morris.
oh, I don't doubt it. That was the thing I felt left with at the end of it, is I wanted to know more. Like, what else? When it said, when he tried 4 more times in the opening, show me those. I want to
Ye-
see that.
Yeah, yeah, we would if we had the budget.
Oh, absolutely. We'll save it for the director's cut or something like that. But
Yeah.
and so what, from your experience and obviously getting to know the story, did you meet with surviving members of his family at all?
Yes, one of the twins, James.
Okay.
He's still alive. Mark, I actually met James when he came on set. So James is in the movie, and James is when he becomes he's working on the streets with the bins. One of the guys that says, don't let the B word bring you down, and don't let those people bring you down. He's the guy next to him, so that's James.
Oh,
And
across the street when he hits with the broom?
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
And Mark spent loads of time. He went to Barrow, and he spent a few nights with him, and we thought we'd never get him back because that was during rehearsal time, and we were worried because he's having such a good time. So yeah, Mark did all the research, and he really submerged himself in it, and it was lovely meeting him. One thing I was really conscious of going into it is that we have this wonderful guy, and a wonderful story, but I didn't really want it to be an impression of in any way. I didn't want it to feel like, let's do an impression. It was more about capturing the spirit of Morris and just what he was out to achieve.
Well, and it certainly feels like that. It feels like this character as opposed to a caricature
Right. Oh,
in
good.
my mind,
Okay,
the way
good.
that came across. Absolutely. So having met James, what, just because of where we leave them in the film, what did the twins get up to? What did Michael get up to? What did Gene, what happened in those years after we leave them in the film?
Well, they became DJs, the twins. They became
Right.
DJs for a while, I believe. I'm not too sure what Morris did after that. I'm sure he just pursued golf and played as much as he could wherever he could get in. But certainly the twins, I think music was, in their veins. So like whatever they could do in that industry, they did.
Amazing. And I just there's just so much joy that comes out in the film. What's the overall message you wanted going into this project after you read the script? Um, what did you want people to walk away from the film with?
I think just hopefully to allow such a good question. I think to allow the space to understand people properly and where they're coming from. I think that a lot of people look down on Morris and what he wanted to achieve, but every dream is worthy, really. And I think that's what it is. Everyone should be given the time and space to try and do. So be kinder to one another and allow that.
I love that. Now, again, it could be something to serve the narrative of the film, and if you don't want to spoil that veneer, I certainly understand. But at the end, when after he's been to Grand Rapids and has come
Yeah.
back and going in the open again under another assumed name in another ridiculous costume, and he sees Reese's character, who's
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the name's escaping me, the head of the former head at that point of
Right.
the
Yeah.
Royal Golf
Mackenzie. Yeah.
Association, and they exchange that little look. Did that interaction actually happen?
It didn't happen. I don't believe it did happen. No. But it works very well in the movie.
It certainly does. It's a nice bow on it, and just that sort of acknowledgement. I love that.
Well, yeah, it's two different perspectives on life and two different understandings of what they believe is right, and it's Reese Evans's character like bending a little bit and just going, okay, maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't be so stiff.
And the role of, and especially at that time and at the time that Morris grew up in the UK, the role of class and class structure and everything else, how
Right.
much did getting some of that across play into the narrative for you?
Well, it was there really. No matter how much we try to push it, it's always going to be in its DNA because it's a very elitist sport to get into. And certainly we're more, when I first read it, I think there was like two different ways to go with it. There was almost like the Ken Loach approach, which is fantastic. But I just felt that, I don't know, he was such an optimist that I wanted to open the gate, for want of a better pun, just open it up and make it feel really dreamlike and kind of and transcend his situation. He ends up in America, and I felt like I wanted it to feel like a bit of Americana within it, really, within the iconography of it. And not make it feel too dour. Like all too often, I feel like with working class stories in the UK, it's all grey and bleak when, sometimes the internal journey of the character isn't quite that. So that was important just to reflect that.
Well, certainly the portrayal of the UK factory work at that time comes across as something familiar that we've
Okay.
seen before in film, and then
Yeah.
there's just there is certainly a color palette to that then the colors open up afterwards when
Oh,
he gets
good.
into golf, which is it's so beautiful. It's just, again, as someone who just loves a feel good story, I can't tell you how much I adored this movie. It
I
just
really appreciate. I really appreciate that. One of the big secrets for us was was Superman. Actually, Superman really helped the visuals of it all, because when I first read Simon's script, there was a moment where he described Morris coming out of the shipyard and then opening his like work overalls
yes.
like Superman. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And one of my favorite movies is Punch Drunk Love by Paul Thomas Anderson, and within that, Adam Sandler plays a character that has social anxiety, but whether he admits it or not, it seems like he's actually Superman, with all like the blue suit and trying to collect the flyer miles to fly and all this stuff. So I was like, oh, maybe this is like, could be like a British Punch Drunk Love. So we took that really and ran with it. So the color palette is pretty much Superman, to the point where even his like the knitted the knitted golf like jumper, that's the diamond of Superman and the Superman colors. The number plate on the car is Clark Kent's Kryptonian name. There's like a
Oh, I see. I have a Superman tattoo on my shoulder. I've got stuff over here. I got all
I
kinds of.
love
I'm a
that.
big
Love that.
Superman fan. Now I got to go watch it again, because now I got to go pick up on all this stuff.
There's loads. There's loads for it. At the beginning, like a comet beams to Earth, like in the background of the
Oh
street.
yeah.
And I think his dog in real life was something like an Alsatian, but we changed it to Superman's dog, the same breed. There's more in there, I just can't quite remember it.
That's incredible. See, now, yeah, I definitely have to. If you could see the other side of my computer, it's my Superman wall over
Love
there.
that.
I just literally have a wall of Superman stuff. I'm mildly obsessed. So now this is going to be a problem. I'm just going to go and buy the film now because I have to own it anyway. But
Love that.
that's fantastic. I just love that whole, because he is a truly a hero in this story.
Yeah, and I think his superpower is kind of like his confidence. Like nobody
Yeah.
can knock him no matter what, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
And the other part that I really enjoyed that came out in subtle ways throughout the film, and maybe you can talk about the addition of this, is the little clip at the beginning that during the war he was sent away, like many kids were, out into the
Right.
country, and this extra level of education that he received that maybe others didn't because of the household he was in.
Yeah.
His intelligence and being so well read and speaking different languages, and that his interaction with Sevi Ballesteros was hysterical, and I love that. But there he is speaking Spanish in the locker room, and they're quoting things, and just you can see that intelligence comes through, but he's just misinterpreted by so many people.
Yeah, I think that time when he was sent to Scotland was probably a rare, moment of social mobility, which has really opened his mind to like other things. And was very, very lucky to have that, and the experience of like somebody telling him that you can do better and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And it's like bedtime stories, really. We get read bedtime stories, and that informs who we are as kids. And then later on, we go, oh, maybe that isn't the case, and we try to figure out how we want to navigate our way through it. I think it was very important from that time, and that's why it was important for us to keep that in the movie, because there was questions of time and like trying to speed things up and get to certain parts of the movie, but that was always really important, certainly for Simon, to keep that in there.
For sure. And I think it just adds that little elements. You've got that little piece that plants the seed of this different level of education he has over his contemporaries, in the working at the docks and all of that kind of stuff. So it just,
Exactly.
yeah, it was really lovely to have that. And yeah, it was a superpower. Some kids were sent away during the war and found a wardrobe with lions
Yeah.
and witches and all these things. He just got to read some more things and became a famous golfer for not being a great golfer.
I love it.
It's fantastic. Now, you yourself, you're also an actor and a creator and a director. What for those who maybe don't know, what projects would they have seen you in? What are you working on right now? What do you have coming up?
I'd be surprised if anybody's seen me in anything, but the things that I've been in before are I did a movie called Submarine, which was a independent British film that was directed by Richard Ayoade, and
Big fan of Richards.
he's brilliant. Yeah, he's a genius. And I've done, I suppose, I did an Amazon TV show called Red Oaks. I don't know. I've done a little bits and bobs here and there, and try to get work wherever I can, to be honest. Whoever will have me.
Sure.
And then coming up, I'm doing an acting job in like a month. Unfortunately, I can't say what that is because it's not been announced. And then I'm directing a film that I've written early next year, I hope. I've been writing it for like the last 4 years, and it's based on Arthur Schnitzler's novella titled Dying. My film's not called Dying, it's called Honey, and it's a psychological relationship drama.
Wow. And you've been on set this summer as well, correct?
I've not been on set this summer, actually.
Oh,
No,
okay. I thought you were on
I've
set.
been. I wish I was. That'd be awesome. I've been locked away writing, talking to myself.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I can't wait to see more things that you do. I can't wait for more people to see this truly incredible film. It is, to say it's a delight, and it warmed my heart. My partner watched it with me both times. She was my date to the gala when I was hosting, and we watched it here the night before. She's not one for, quote unquote sports movies or anything like that, but we sat on the laptop and watched it, and both were just thrilled. And I can't tell you what a thrill it is to be able to meet and chat with you, Craig.
Oh, likewise, honestly. Thank you, number one, for saying such kind things, and for taking the time to speak with me, and also hosting the gala and doing that.
Oh, it was a
But
pleasure.
honestly, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad that you liked the movie.
Oh, loved it. And if people wanted to find you, I don't know, on socials, anything, follow your work, where's the best place for them to catch you?
I suppose, yeah, I've got an Instagram and a Twitter. I don't really do much on it. My Instagram is just full of like film shots, I suppose, that I take. Not really much about me. But you can't find me really. I'm mostly inside.
Okay. Well, especially you guys have had a pretty hot summer in the UK as well.
Very,
So
very hot.
yeah,
Yeah.
so being inside, at least if you had AC, which maybe you don't, I don't know, but
We don't.
no, you don't. It's a shame. But so just at Craig Roberts, they can find you.
Sorry, yeah, it's at Craig Roberts 10 is the, I think, handle. Is that what you call it? Yeah, that's
Yes,
the or gamer tag. That's probably what, I
right.
don't know.
At Craig
Um,
Roberts 10.
Craig Roberts 10. Yeah, that's what
Okay.
it. Again, don't go there for content because there's not
Okay.
much. But if you want to follow another person, go ahead by all means. Waste your time.
Well, it was just a pleasure for you to be able to make the time to chat with us.
Oh, of
Sorry we
course.
couldn't have you at the actual festival on the opening night.
I'm
You would
sorry I
have
couldn't get there.
loved the audience reaction. They just adored the film. We had an absolute blast, and I'm truly grateful for the time. Thank you so much, and everyone, stay tuned for another episode of the Oakville Festival of Film and Arts Off-Screen Podcast. I've been Ian Tyson, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.